All right, let's go. Week 1, unnecessary roughness. College football. We just watched 12 hours of football. There's still some football going on the West Coast. Sure, fine, whatever. I think Kentucky's still going to because of the weather. We just watched A&M and Notre Dame kind of play football. I guess you can call it that. Sure. We watched that. I got Big Ev. I got Blutman. I got Casey Smith. Casey Smith fresh off watching her team not play very well. Doesn't matter. We're going to talk about everything that happened in college football today after she tells you about the deliciousness and she puts a smile on her face of high noon.
You know what? Hold on. You know what's going to give me a bigger smile, Brandon? I'll show you what's going to give me a bigger smile. Let me grab it real quick. Pop it right here.
Good. Do what you got to do.
I got the tequila strawberry. This is actually the first high noon that I've had today because I was like, I need to wait. You know, in the past, I've had some high noons and then I get on this show and I'm like, crazy? No. This is the first one. I need this, Ev. This is high noon is good in victory. High noon is good in defeat. High noon is good in embarrassment. And the Florida fan from today, like we need to talk about that man. It was like the surrender. They called it like the surrender English bulldog or whatever. He had a high noon in his hand. So I'm gonna join him right now.
Yeah, you can visit highnoonspirits.com and find a pack near you. And they got the fall pack. What do they call the fall pack? The end zone pack?
The end zone pack. It's limited. It's got a couple like limited flavors in it. I'm going to tell you what, this tequila strawberry tastes delicious. Highnoonspirits.com. Find a pack near you.
Casey and the Florida guy are having them out of sadness. You can also have them out of happiness. But
you can have them. Listen, they're good across the board. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching might be in the bar or at a tailgate right now drinking them. But this one is the sadness, okay? Drink responsibly.
So just one quick explanation of Blutman. Blutman is allergic to bad quarterback play, and he just watched Connor Wegman. He just watched Connor Wegman play for 3 hours, so you'll have to excuse him.
Don't be a dick. Don't do this to me.
Do I need to get your EpiPen? Do I need to get you like a Patrick Mahomes tape or something?
No, I'll be good tomorrow.
Okay.
You know what's also
I gotta watch Miller Moss and Garrett Nussmeier rip it tomorrow. I'm all good.
What's great about Blutman is like we all like logged on before we went live and all three of us were like, Blutman, you good? And he didn't even like process what could have possibly been wrong. And he was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just like allergic to bad football.
Yep.
Like, no, you look like you got in a fight, bro.
That's okay. I did get in a fight. Got in a fight with like, West Virginia. Gross. Billy Napier's team. Gross. Graham Mertz been in college for 8 years. Still not good. Bad quarterback play.
So we're going to get to A&M and Notre Dame. They were the primetime game, and they were the one that we just watched. So they're front of mind. But I guess I want to start with the biggest game coming in. It was Clemson and Georgia. Number 1, Georgia is number 14. Clemson, or number 16, Clemson, whatever they were. It doesn't matter what they were because they're not going to be that anymore. I was heavy on Clemson this year and heavy Clemson on this game. I thought they would come out and compete with Georgia. And I was right for about 25 minutes. Like, the defense stood up and played pretty well in the first half. We'll put Clemson to the side for a second because I think today was more about Georgia. That's just flat out. When they came out in the second half and they started throwing it around all over the yard, they just showed a scary side of them that when Georgia's locked in, Georgia's the best team in the country, and they were fucking impressive today, Big F.
I mean, listen, no, Brandon, you're right. Georgia is elite, and they established themselves. But I think it was a little bit of both. I think Clemson legitimately stinks. I tweeted this, and it just hit me. They're Wisconsin, Brandon. Clemson has now become Wisconsin. They have a very good defense. Really, really, I think legitimately good defense. They have a dog shit quarterback, and they have no weapons. They are Wisconsin. That's what Clemson is now. Post transfer portal era, they are Wisconsin.
Well, I'll go further than you on that. They don't exactly have a special offensive line that's going to help them out either.
No, for sure not.
I think Moffa's a good running back. He was doing what he could today. The receivers have not separated. The receivers are not very good. The quarterback, listen, he played maybe one of the 3 best defenses in the country today. So I am hoping for Clemson's sake that his inability to show a step forward this year so far was because of that. But it also could be he just didn't – every problem they had last year with the poor quarterback play and the poor receivers is still present in this team. Casey, did you go more, Georgia's good or Clemson's bad?
I agree with Ev. I think it was a mixture. If I had to pick, I think that it's fuck Georgia's really good. And I think that we knew that. We've also talked about the way that they would have played last year had they not blown in the SEC championship. They would have probably won the playoff. Like that team is so damn good. What surprises me about Clemson, and like I saw a lot of memes with DJ, doing the Shannon Sharp, pointing thing. Like this is clearly a problem with this offense that doesn't make sense. And then you step back and you're like, okay, was it because they had Deshaun Watson? Was it because they had Trevor Lawrence? Like, is that solely why Dabo was able to establish this dynasty? And now you're actually seeing that maybe come to fruition because he's refusing to go into the transfer portal and get weapons. He's refusing to go in the transfer portal at all. So now you're sitting back and you're like, okay, maybe DJ wasn't the guy. Cade Klubnik was supposed to be the guy. And their offense is just ass. Like their offense is just not good. And Georgia is really good.
I knew Clemson would lose this game. I predicted it would be 17-10. They would keep it close. And I do think for a half, it looked like that's exactly what was going to happen. And then the defense you can't keep putting the defense on the field. You can't give them like 2 first downs in the first half and expect them to hold up against the Georgia team.
That's where I'm like, you and I were on the same page with Clemson. And like I said on both the college football show and this podcast, I thought Georgia would cover because I was like, I think Georgia's just going to be that much better. So I wasn't surprised that they covered the points. To me, it surprised like how they were able to. It was how little Clemson, early in the game, not how they were able to. We know how that, but I'm saying like Clemson, like their defensive line kept them in the game for the first couple quarters, but that offense couldn't do anything. That surprised me more than anything. So I guess the answer to your question is, it's more shocking that Clemson just looks that bad.
Georgia's just ruthlessly efficient. When they go to fuck you mode, there's nothing you can do. And they did it in the second half. Carson Beck is a legitimate top 5 NFL prospect. Carson Beck is really, really, really fucking good. It took him a while to get going today, but once he got going, once they figured it out, it was lights out. The defense, Malachi Starks with one of the better interceptions you'll see that kind of pretty much ended the game when Clemson was – I think they had fallen behind 2 scores again, and then that interception pretty much ended the game. People like to shit on teams more than people like to prop up teams, and I'm guilty of that myself. So I get why people are shitting on Clemson. There's nothing over about Clemson's season. They got to revamp. And listen, we'll talk about this later, but it ain't like the ACC is going to be knocking down any doors this year. So Clemson's going to be a very interesting team to monitor. Do they pick themselves up and because next week ain't easy. Next week they got App State. Like that ain't easy. So if they come out and handle them with ease, I think they can put it back together. But Georgia might beat them twice. So
I disagree with you about the ACC a little bit, just because Miami looks so fucking good.
That's one team. I
understand that. I understand that. I do.
Everybody else looks like trash.
Oh no, that is Virginia Tech. We will get there, and I know that we talked about why everyone was propping up Virginia Tech. We'll talk about that. But I Miami. Ev has been high on Miami, and I thought Miami would win today. But when we get to that game, that to me, again, if we're gonna overreact in week 1, which is what everyone is gonna do, Miami is the cream of the crop. There's no question to me.
Certainly not the cream of the crop. Oh, in the ACC.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. For the ACC.
Fair enough.
Georgia is the cream of the crop.
Well, guess what? We are going to overreact to everybody because that's what the internet's doing right now. A&M just lost to a top 10 team, but A&M fucking sucks. Clemson lost to number 1 team, but Clemson fucking sucks. It's overreaction Saturday. There's no time here to be measured. There's no time here to be, calm, cool, and collected. No, A&M lost to a very good team, so they fucking suck, and that's how we're doing business around here.
Well, we don't need to talk about this game. I need to drink more of the high noon before we get there.
We're going to get to that game.
No, I understand that. Overreactions. We overreacted about Florida State in week 0. This is what we do. Week 1 is the best time to overreact because in the middle of October, November, these games probably won't matter too much, but games like Notre Dame, A&M would absolutely matter. Games like Miami, Florida, the implications now of the 12-team playoff, overreacting in week 1 in years past, it's okay, whatever. It's going to be the 14 playoff. Now, week 1 matters a whole lot more.
So let's do Notre Dame A&M right here. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Blutman. What'd you have to add? I apologize.
Well, I had a few things to bring up with Clemson because we're talking about Dabo and his way and blah, blah, blah. Last good wide receiver that they have had, because you were talking about these guys can't create separation. Last good wide receiver they had was Justin Ross. Dabo basically killed Justin Ross. Last 1,000-yard wide receiver that Clemson had. Do you want to take a guess at the last time they had a 1,000-yard wide receiver?
T. Higgins?
Nope.
Was it before that? Was it Sammy Watkins?
No, it was after.
Mike Williams?
2020.
Okay, I don't know who it was.
Amari Rogers.
Okay,
That's sad.
yeah, it's
And
not
the last
great.
actual good receiver they've had is T. Higgins.
Yeah, it's not great, and you know, I sit there and said he could be the counter to transfer portal culture, but I would imagine he was sitting there today going, man, I wish I had a couple of receivers on this team. I wish I had gone out.
He wouldn't be able to identify a good receiver in the transfer portal. He can't identify one in high school. He goes for the same exact type of guy every single time and whiffs.
So here's my question with him though. What does he? I mean, it's obviously too late now for this season to go out into the transfer portal. So what? Like, and Dabo's going to Dabo. You know, he said the quote about the scoreboard doesn't matter, which is just blatantly false. Like, what do they do?
What do they do? They don't play Georgia. That's the number one thing. That is the number one thing that they can do going forward. Don't play the best team in the fucking country, and then maybe you'll be able to put this thing back together. The biggest thing for Clemson to me is it's Cade Klubnik. For them to be good and for them to compete with Miami and for them to compete for the ACC title, he has to take a step forward. The very first play of the game, they called the play action, and the running back goes in the flat about 4 yards in front of the quarterback. Quarterback rolls. It's designed to give the quarterback an easy completion to get him in the flow of the game. Cade rolled that way 5 yards away from his running back and missed him by 3 yards. And nobody was on him. There was no pressure, and it was at that moment where I was like, "Fuck, this is a problem," and it was a problem. Cade Klubnik was a major problem. But again, I don't want this to be all hate because Georgia's really fucking good. They got the best dude. They got dudes every place that you can plant a dude on a football field. Georgia has one,
and they had a bunch of guys sitting out today.
I know.
That wasn't even their full team. That was not their
because they had
unsuspended roster.
They led the country in arrests this fall. God knows what the Athens jail would have done today. I mean, they would have been the second best team in the country.
I mean, Brandon, you when you were tweeting like your 6:15 Central updates, and you were talking about like good, bad, underperform, whatever, and then you followed it up with the 800-pound ball of like chainsaws or whatever you say. Like, I feel like that's just on repeat every single year since Kirby Smart has gotten Georgia where they are. Like, they just
until he plays Nick Saban.
And guess what? Nick Saban, who, by the way, was, and I don't like to give College Game Day too much credit, but obviously I watched it today because it was in College Station and we weren't live. Nick Saban's phenomenal on the desk. Like, Nick Saban is so good there. And if there's anybody in the country that's probably the happiest that he's sitting there, it has to be Kirby Smart, because he's looking around now like, who's going to stop this team? Who's going to stop me?
Yeah. I guess number two, let's go with Miami. Let's go with Miami and Florida. Miami 41, Florida 17. And this was a battle of two teams that I kind of felt good about coming into the season. And you're going to hear a lot because I'm going to hammer home that I was very right about Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech. Several teams popped up today that I was just flat out wrong about. I was wrong that Clemson would do what they did. I was wrong that Florida would compete with Miami, and I was wrong that Notre Dame wouldn't go into A&M and play the way they did. So those are the three teams I want to talk about that I was wrong about. But I was right about Miami because I do like them. Ev likes them. Casey likes them. The only one that didn't really like them was Blutman. But
I mean, I took them to win today. I was shocked. I was the only one on the football show.
They flat out 100% look like a playoff contender. Whether the ACC is bad or not, they physically looked like a playoff contender. Big F.
No, and you going back to you talking about Georgia, Clemson saying should have one team prop the other one up.
Yeah,
I still don't think Florida is that god awful. I think Miami made them look bad. I think they played so good and so dominant. They made them look bad. Cam Ward, if you can have a Heisman moment in week one, he had it. Mm-hmm. He had it. Listen, long season to go, but I think he put himself in a pole position. I mean, he looked so dominant. I mean, the throws he made. I mean, Restrepo is incredible. All these receivers, Colby Young. I mean, these guys are everywhere. Guys everywhere. Multiple running backs. The defense is strong. I mean, Graham Mertz last year was one of the most accurate passes in the country. They couldn't do anything. They could not do anything on offense. They hit one big run. That was all they hit the whole game. Miami is for real. They are by far the class of the ACC. Listen, I think Clemson will bounce back. Like, they're not going to be they played Georgia. They ran to a buzzsaw. But Miami is clearly the team to beat in the ACC. And you look at Miami's schedule now.
Yeah.
Like, who do you see them losing to on this schedule? Like, I think they're going to run the table, at least in the regular season.
Well, no, I want to slow you down there. Well, first of all, the schedule is very manageable, and they could be an 11-1, 12-0 team. They could be, Florida State doesn't look all that tough. The schedule doesn't look all that tough. I'm going to push back a little bit because Miami looked great. Cam Ward had over 400 total yards. He had 3 touchdowns. The running back, the offensive line, everybody looked very good. Florida is that bad.
I agree with that.
Florida was not prepared. Florida is a poorly coached team that was scared to death once those athletes got out there. Florida is a fucking joke right now. It's pathetic. They hired the wrong guy 3 years ago. You want to argue me up and down you had to fire Dan Mullen? Fine. Let's say you had to fire Dan Mullen. I don't think you did, but let's say you did. You went out and got a Sun Belt coach who has never, ever succeeded at this level, who had never done anything at this level, and he cannot do it. And what he has turned the University of Florida into is a fucking embarrassment. You looked at Miami's dudes, just the way they looked and the way they attacked and the way they did everything. Then you look at Florida's dudes, those guys don't play the same fucking sport. And that's the University of Florida. They should be competing for national titles. And they got this clown on the sidelines? What a joke. What a joke Florida is.
I saw you going back and forth with Florida fans, and you were like just in your bag because obviously you're going to be a Dan Mullen guy for what he did for Mississippi State.
Yeah.
But you were so correct because you were like, you didn't, first of all, they were lashing out as college football fans do. We're going to lash out when our team loses. But there is clearly nobody in Gainesville or anywhere on the planet with a brain that would look at what Dan Mullen was doing and look at what Billy Napier is doing and be like, yeah, I would go back and do the same thing. There's just no way. And that's why when we talked about Florida last week and we were previewing it, like my thing was like, I don't care how good Graham Mertz looks. I don't care how good like these guys on the roster should be. Billy Napier is going to get out coached by Mario Cristobal. And it didn't even come down to that. But Billy Napier is just not a good coach for Florida. Is he going to be a good coach somewhere else? Maybe. But it's like Will Muschamp didn't do well. Like it's just there are guys that are not going to fit those programs. And he is clearly that guy.
The best example of this is when Cristobal knew he had to get better and get better everywhere. He went out and got Cam Ward to be his quarterback and Damian Martinez to be his running back. He got 2 of the best in the portal. Who'd Billy Napier go get? He went and got Graham Mertz to try to rebuild him into a quarterback. He went out and got Louisiana Lafayette's running back. Like, that's not what you should do at Florida. If you're going to be in the portal, go get fucking dudes like Miami got. But again, not to hate too much, Miami looked fucking outstanding. And it was all about Cam Ward. If Cam Ward comes out today and looks like average and looks maybe timid and looks like this is too big of a spot for him, then you kind of temper the expectations. He looked like he was dropped like right from the Heisman ceremony into this game and saying, all right, here's the guy. And Miami is now a completely different team. And it was awesome, Blutman. What do you think?
I think that Cam Ward, his attitude and everything was very infectious. I think his teammates just loved him and took every single bit of his like raw emotion, the way that he goes on about himself, and they all echoed that every single down. Cam Ward's swagger was carried by that entire team. We saw Cam Ward with the sidearm passes that he loves a little bit too much. That's going to get him in trouble.
A little bit, but when they work, it looks so awesome.
It looks so good.
Like he's sick, and he just plays a different brand of football than anybody else in the country. He's running back like 20 yards, doing his thing, just creating, and it's fun to watch. I hope consistency can be an issue with him. I hope he could be consistent throughout the year because he's just genuinely one of the most fun players to watch in the country, and that's why we fell in love with him at Incarnate Word. We had a lot of fun watching him at Wazoo. I was skeptical if he could continue it in Miami, but if that's the version of him that you're getting every single Saturday, it's playoff
the talent around him too.
And they're scary.
I mean, the talent around him is so much better. I mean, he had some guys at Wazoo, but obviously you get the talent that Mario Cristobal has put together at Miami. And that's why, I mean, again, I do think Florida is complete ass. There's no question about that. And I also think Miami is the cream of the crop in the ACC right now. Clemson is not going to play Georgia every week. I get that. But just comparing the way that those offenses look today against defenses that are obviously pretty stout, there's no question.
And we'd be remiss not to mention the dominance of that offensive line.
Florida's defense is not stout at all.
They should be on paper.
They were god awful last year, and they didn't do anything. They're just not. Florida's a fucking train wreck.
They are ass. But I guess my point is it's not like they were playing some FCS team and we're like, oh my God, Cam Ward ran all over them. They're playing SEC.
They weren't playing Fresno and couldn't move the ball.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear about that in a little bit.
What? I
Great
pulled
point,
a random.
Random ass.
Big Ev, I pulled a random team.
Brandon, I
give
thought it
a
was a
shit.
great point. I don't give
a shit about that. I don't give a shit about
I
like
agree.
you can trash on them all you want. My team lost. What am I just all I want to do is cry.
Trash on who? I just said Fresno.
Whoever.
Like trying to move the ball in Idaho.
Whoever you want to trash, you can trash, okay?
Oh, thank you for your permission, because I'm gonna.
I know. You listen, I know you so well at this point, and I love when people think that like when we argue or whatever, like it's like, oh, they're real life. Like I know Brandon when Brandon gets into like real Brandon mode, and you're like, just like I get a text and I look and it says, just so you know, we're still friends. Usually it's a text like after the fact. The fact that we started this and you preemptively apologized to me tells me that real Brandon knew what unnecessary roughness Brandon was about to do.
Yeah, no, I had to. This is the first. She's right. This is the very first time I've ever issued the apology to her before the show.
Usually it comes like it might come like a day later. It might come hours later. It might come like in the moment. Like, you know, I get like the real person Big Brother text. No. I got it in person preemptively. So I
listen.
Buckle up, baby.
It's Saturday night, week 1. I got my sweet tea right here. I got my hairbrush in my hand. This is I'm where I need to be. What are you looking at, Bloodman?
The Arizona defense going to tackle me.
Okay, all right. So game 3, it is now time for the primetime game, which was Notre Dame at Texas A&M, 23-13. Notre Dame wins. This is Clemson and Georgia. You can sit here and say, well, Clemson played Georgia and everything. We don't know how good either of these teams are, but I'm just going to assume these are two of the better defenses in the country. They're very good defenses. I know Notre Dame's got an outstanding defense. That was their strength coming in on paper. They were able to make the plays in the fourth quarter to win the game. They were better than A&M tonight. They had a better quarterback. Connor Wegman was not good at all. He was terrible. Again, save the hating for in a minute. Right now it's the praising, and that's Notre Dame. They walked into 100 and however many thousand people. They walked into that place, which is a tough place to play, and they made the play. It was 13-13 in the fourth quarter. I thought they had a 13-6 lead. They gave it up, 13-13, and I thought, oh, boy, they're in trouble. And they dominated the last 8 minutes, Big F. Dominated it.
I mean, listen, I agree with you. I think the defense is very, very legit. And the difference in this game was the quarterbacks. Wegman was he was awful. I mean, He was really, really bad. I am definitely regretting buying an A&M because he is just such dog shit. I just can't.
Welcome to Aggie Land. Welcome.
I'm jumping off this train very fast, but the Notre Dame defense travels. It traveled, and they are stingy as hell on all 3 levels. They fight, they tackle well. They're extremely. I mean, I think they've embodied some that Marcus Freeman has definitely put his touch on this team, specifically the defense. I'll give Notre Dame credit. They're better than I thought. They're definitely much better team than I anticipated. And I was a Leonard guy. I am a Leonard guy. I think Leonard's a solid quarterback. I think he has a chance to be a high NFL draft pick potentially.
Yeah, I'll co-sign that. Notre Dame showed me something tonight. I was wrong about them. I thought they would wilt in the Texas heat. I thought they would wilt against a really good defense there. And Texas A&M's defense did stand up, and they made it difficult on Notre Dame. They got them into the fourth quarter in a tie game, but that's when winners win, and winners won tonight. Riley Leonard made the winning plays. The running backs for Notre Dame made the winning plays, and Connor Wegman did not. So if you've got that, if you got a defense that can be a top 5 defense in the country, and you can go on the road and your quarterback is going to make the plays in the fourth quarter, like they're a dangerous-ass team, and they took if you ask me who took the biggest step toward the playoff berth today, it's obviously Notre Dame, because
they're favored in every game left on the schedule.
Huge road win, and the rest of their schedule doesn't look all that tough. So, gigantic win, gigantic nut check for Notre Dame. They did it. Like they came out and did exactly what I said they would not do. We'll get to Casey in a minute.
Well, I do want to talk about Notre Dame. You can go to Blutman. I'm going to talk about Notre Dame too before I get upset. Okay, so Blutman, go. But I have to talk about Notre Dame.
My thoughts on Notre Dame: the secondary is extremely good, as we expected. You're not supposed to test Benjamin Morrison, but there's a lot of other players on that team that you shouldn't test. The offensive line, while inexperienced, could open up a bunch of gaping holes. There were some pre-snap issues that were annoying. There were some holding penalties that were annoying, but I mean, it's an inexperienced offensive line. Like, that's going to happen. I don't think Riley Leonard was even close to his best tonight. I think he has a lot of work to do with his throwing. I thought he missed the vast majority. He 12 incompletions, but all of his misses felt really bad and just off. I don't like that. I thought he was a menace in the ground game, though, and Notre Dame should lean heavily towards the run.
Yeah, well, they should. I mean, they're still not great at receiver.
No, not at all.
Yeah, they're okay, but that running back 4, Jeremiah Love's fantastic.
Yeah, I love
Leonard.
Love.
Yeah, listen, if you give a big time team a great defense, a good, solid, smart quarterback, and some good running backs, and you just say move the chains and keep the ball and let's win the game, that can go a very, very long way. Went a long way to that. Now, Casey, your thoughts on Notre Dame?
Well, so, I mean, first of all, credit to them. Like, I was also wrong about Notre Dame, and I don't know if that was because I was biased of what I thought was going to happen tonight. But I can tell you that what I don't think is going to continue for Notre Dame, and that's going to help them a lot. And I'm sure Marcus Freeman is probably not going to talk about it tonight because they're going to celebrate, but talk about it in the film room. And Liam mentioned it a little bit. Like, they had a lot of penalties. And some of them I understand people were arguing on Twitter.
They had more.
Yeah, there were a ton of penalties. So the undisciplined decisions that were made, I think those are going to be easily tightened up. Now, again, their schedule opens up to where they're not going to have to worry about playing at night at Kyle Field. But had they had even half the amount of discipline better tonight, like they kept A&M in a lot of positions that A&M probably shouldn't have been in because of how bad our offense looked. So that's the biggest takeaway for me is that credit to Notre Dame, and they're just going to keep getting better because they're not going to make some of those. I mean, I understand it's an inexperienced offensive line, but some of those penalties were just flat out stupid penalties.
Well, I mean, that last drive should have been another one. Like that receiver Collins caught a ball, a great catch. By the way, they reviewed for no reason. And by the way, the review guy,
the worst.
Was he drinking?
Had to have been. Just horrible reviews.
Clearly a catch.
Virginia guy wasn't good either.
Yeah, but it was clearly a catch. And no, I'm talking about the rules expert for ESPN in the booth. He's like, guys, I don't think that was a catch. Yeah, it fucking was.
He was like, he kind of bobbled it and then he fell outside. And I was like, what? Listen, I would absolutely adore for them to overturn this. There's no way you can overturn that. I have two eyeballs.
Yeah, and then the guy gets up and pushes him in the back. And that gets called 100% of the time. I have no idea why it didn't get called there. But then they also had the terrible review on the first down, which, Riley Leonard's whole body was across the line, and the ref was like, "No, I don't think so."
Yeah, there were questionable decisions, and I do think that Marcus Freeman is going to be like in each position group, being like, "All right, this simply cannot happen." Especially like once they do get to the playoff, because I would assume they're going to make the playoff at this point. But I'm going to let everybody else talk about A&M because, spoiler alert, at the end of the show, I have a lot of things to say.
Big Ev, let's talk about A&M. I thought they fired Jimbo Fisher.
God damn. See,
I like that one, Brandon. That's a good one.
You tell me the difference in a Jimbo Fisher coach team and what that was tonight. I know they played a good defense, but if you want to be at top level of college football, you got to beat good defenses. And if you're in the SEC, you damn sure got to beat good defenses. Connor Wegman's been there, is it third year, fourth year, whatever it is this year. He hasn't gotten better. He's bad. The receiver talent, they've let too much receiver talent slip through their fingers and go to other places.
That's the key right there. That's
running back, I know they had an injury, but there's nothing special at running back, and they just their game plan was bizarre. They ran every first down. When they did drop Wegman back, they didn't put him in good spots. Like, how the hell were they supposed to win that game with whatever offense that was, Big M?
Zero creativity.
Zero.
So is that on? Okay,
you hit the nail on the head. You know what? They legitimately just ran the ball every first down. They just ran, like, you knew exactly what was coming. They were so vanilla, and against an incredibly talented defense like Notre Dame, that's never going to work. Never, ever.
Is it so? I was having this conversation with my guy friends that were all at the game tonight because you said like Jimbo Fisher, and that's a haha funny joke. The issue is that our wide receivers just simply cannot get open, and they haven't for 5 years. My question is, Colin Klein obviously was a fantastic offensive coordinator at Kansas State. He was very creative. They were phenomenal in the red zone. But the way he was calling the game tonight, I couldn't figure out if he was being super conservative because it's the first game of the year, or if he's looking at this like, I just simply don't have the fucking personnel on offense to be able to be as creative as I want because they simply can't do it. That's the way, like, Connor Wegman just isn't good. Sorry. I hope I can take that back. So I don't know what it is because Colin Klein was supposed to revitalize this offense, and it looked the exact same.
Well, that's why they're so conservative, because they don't have any trust in their quarterback, and they're playing an elite secondary and don't want to get
And
the
they
ball
don't have
right
wide
back
receivers that can get
to
open.
Notre Dame every 3 plays. They can't do anything with Wegman.
And receivers. We don't have anybody that can get fucking open.
That's fine, but if you're conservative because you're scared you're going to turn it over, then you get conservative, and now you can't move the ball because you're like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. You're stopping yourself if you're not giving yourself a chance to succeed. And it's tough. Listen, I understand when you play an elite defense like a Notre Dame, like a Fresno, you're not going to be able to move the ball. Like I understand these things, but I don't know that Connor Wegman would have moved the ball against Air tonight. Like he looked fucking bad, and there were certain quarterbacks we had to have step up in week 1 for certain teams to have a chance. Cade Klubnik was one, didn't do it. Drew Aller was another, did do it. Connor Wegman was another, didn't do it. Cam Ward was another, did do it. So, like, if the quarterback stepped up and played well, we're talking well about you. If didn't, you're Texas A&M tonight.
The fact that and I tweeted this, the fact that it was tied at halftime with those 2 interceptions that Wigman threw in the first half, like I was totally okay with that. I was like, God, that was garbage football. But the fact that they're going into halftime and not having to fight from behind, it's just like it truly does feel like Groundhog Day. It's like this offense just doesn't have that, and we're supposed to have this talented roster. But again, credit to Notre Dame, because, I mean, regardless of how I feel about Kyle Field or A&M, like through the TV, you could hear how loud that place was. Like, that's not an easy place to play. And Riley Leonard stayed composed, and their defense is stout, and they're going to be in the playoffs. Let's see how they play in the playoff. But I'll save the rest of my thoughts of A&M for our classic shit list, Brandon Walker.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on to, I guess, the 4th game I pulled out. So, boys, this is your first one of these. What I like to do is pull out the 4 or 5 biggest games of the week. We talk about them. Then I just rapid fire takes, and I let everybody react to the takes, and they can add whatever take they want to. I got about 11 rapid fire takes, and then at the end of the show, we'll do who won the weekend, who lost the weekend, shit list, stuff like that. But the other big game that needs to be talked about is Penn State at West Virginia. This is a game that we thought was a kind of a minefield for Penn State. They're walking into a place. You know, we saw the scenes from West Virginia yesterday. They were crazy. They were ready, and it didn't fucking matter. Penn State walked in there, and they kind of stomped a mud hole in them. Now, the weather, I don't know if it helped or hurt Penn State. It certainly affected the game, because there was a time this afternoon about 3 o'clock where I was legitimately concerned for the residents of Morgantown, West Virginia. That storm looked biblical in nature, and I was concerned we were about to lose everybody involved with both programs.
I was absolutely sure that game would never be resumed. Like, I was like, I don't know what precedent is set. Like, we're never playing the rest of this game.
Bottom line is Penn State looked great on defense. Penn State looked great on offense. Drew Aller looked good. Singleton looked good at running back. Penn State looked the part of a team that's tired of fucking around and losing to the Ohio States and Michigans of the world. They look like somebody. They went on the road to a decent opponent, shut them down, just beat the shit out of them.
Oh.
Big Ev, how impressed were you?
Leo.
That was disgusting.
It's just such a sound. Just such a sound.
Devin Dan Pierce just toying with Arizona.
Drew Aller was the story in that game, in my opinion. I mean, Drew Aller, you talked about a little bit. Last year, he became almost a meme, how bad he was against Ohio State and against Michigan. He had not one. He had a handful of throws today that I was like, that guy might be the number 1 pick in the draft in a year or two.
He had some.
He had a couple throws, and really the one he made, the touchdown before the half, was unbelievable. He had the out route he had that was insane, like a 3rd down. I mean, he had some throws that you're like, oh my, this is the guy that they talked about last year. Yeah. That was like, this is going to be the Penn State savior. This is who they thought Hackenberg was. This is who they thought this and that guy was. This is the guy. And he, for the first time, looked like that guy against maybe not an Ohio State or Michigan good defense, but I still think West Virginia is a very rock solid team on the road to do that. Very impressive.
You're talking about the out route that was early in the game, and it was towards the camera, because that was
insane.
That was an incredible throw.
They showed the slow-mo angle of it after. It was so good. I mean, he put that ball on a fucking string.
So
the coverage was good.
As an Ohio State guy, and obviously, like you mentioned, and I mean, I guess you could add Ole Miss in the bowl game if you want to, but against those 3 teams, Drew Aller looked incredibly bad. And I was low on West Virginia in comparison to their hype coming in. Do you, and look, I'm not going to take anything away from him. He looks phenomenal. But as an Ohio State guy, are you looking at this West Virginia defense and what came out today and being like, Drew Aller could do that against your defense?
No, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I mean, if you're going to make perfect throw, he made a few throws today that are like, it doesn't matter what the coverage is. Like if you make that throw, you're going to win. And he made a few of those throws today, and that's scary. That's scary.
Very few defenses would have slowed Aller down today, the way he played. Like Ohio State's got a great defense. Georgia's got a great defense. Fresno, of course. Like all of these teams would have shut Drew out. Could have stood a chance, but Drew Aller did look like, I wanted Cade to take the step. I wanted this guy to take the step. Well, they didn't. Drew Aller looked like he took a step. It looked like the offseason. And again, I've said it many times. I'll say it one more time. His biggest sin last year was not being good against Ohio State and Michigan, 2 top 5 defenses in the country. There's a whole lot of guys that wouldn't have looked good last year in his first year start as a full-time starter against those 2 defenses. So I was able to forgive that. And now, again, I want to shout out Singleton. I want to shout out the offensive line. Like they just dominated West Virginia. West Virginia is probably an 8-4, 7-5 Big 12 team. There's nothing to write home about, but they're also not. I mean, this isn't Abilene Christian. This isn't somebody that's just terrible.
Especially coming off the momentum they have with 9 wins last year. But we've said it. It's like beating a dead horse at this point. Like Penn State is the reason the 12-team playoff. Like the 12-team playoff is Penn State, and Penn State is a 12-team playoff. We know that. My bigger question is, what do you make of West Virginia now? Because Penn State is very good. Drew Aller looked incredible. Is West Virginia going to be able to rebound? Like we give Neil Brown all this credit in the world. Like, do you think they're still as good as people expected them to be? Just can't beat Penn State? I'm
not worried about West Virginia. Yeah, they lost to Penn State. They lost to a team who's got a lot better talent than them. And the weather was weird. It just sucked their home field advantage and just threw it away. Like that was gone the second they came back and they got dominated. So I don't know. No, I don't really worry about West Virginia. I think they're going to be what they were going to be the whole time. They're going to be a 8-4, 7-5 team. They're just going to be fine there in the Big 12. But I do think Penn State's a legitimate contender. I really think they're a contender for the Big Ten. I think they're a contender for the national title. That's how much I like Penn State. Maybe I was a year early on them last year with Drew Aller, but I never sold my stock. I never sold it.
You did not. You've doubled
down. I put it away and said, I'm not touching that stock for a while.
Well, and I'm sure this is going to be a part of your next segment, your next rant. But I mean, obviously Ohio State, like they dicked around for a little bit, but they ended up handling business. With the way Oregon played today, another team that everyone's pretty high on in the Big Ten. And I know it's just week 1 and fine, whatever. But like you got to look at the way Penn State played. Like they handled business against a much better team than Oregon did tonight.
Top 7 FCS team.
Well, yeah, okay. Doesn't matter.
I know you're an FCS guy, but they're not West Virginia.
I know.
Didn't Tennessee play a good FCS team?
They didn't play Jason X team.
So I'm not doing the FCS stuff tonight. Okay, we're focusing.
Okay, sorry. Drew Aller though, he's good, dude. And
Oklahoma State played the best FCS team. They bitch slapped them.
No comment. Ev, that's not cool. Not cool, dude. No comment. Sorry, Jackrabbits. Bad. Drew Aller, I also never sold my stock in him, Brandon. I would like you to know that. I would like you to know I am an idiot coward for for being early on Penn State last year and not sticking with them this year. Maybe I should have done that. You didn't even talk about Kalnicki. What a hire at OC. And what James Franklin is a coward, whatever. He didn't allow Drew Aller to consistently throw deep at all last year. He didn't want to see it. He was open about that. Kalnicki wants to throw the ball deep, and he wants to do it every few plays, and that's massive for Drew Aller and the Penn State offense.
Yeah, it was very, very, very impressive.
It changed that game at the end of the half.
Yeah, it did. Let's go with the rapid fire takes, and
we do. I don't know. I don't think that you have a bag. And unfortunately, I'm not ashamed to say I was going to have a bag of our Southern recipe small batch pork rinds to eat on the show. I ate the entire bag during the A&M game. I opened that bag of spicy dill pork rinds and ate the entire thing. No shame in my game. Listen, if you are watching this, because I know that we get a ton of viewers in the live show after games that maybe don't listen to it throughout the week, you absolutely should. But Pork Rinds is now with us for the rest of the season. They are the ultimate snack. They have the perfect crunch time. They've got a million different flavors. Brandon and I cannot stop talking about the spicy dill, but they've got the hot honey. Ev, you had the salt and pepper ones the other day that were so good. Porkrinds.com. Go get them right now. The best snack. No carbs, tons of protein. Actually, a very healthy game day snack for your tailgate, for your couch party, whatever. Porkrinds.com. And yes, I did. I ate an entire bag. No shame. I was stress eating. And if you're going to stress eat a snack, Brandon, you might as well stress eat pork rinds.
Yeah, healthy. Blutman, what has happened? Right before we went live, I was getting DMs from Arizona fans to say, don't go live now. You got to watch one of the best teams in the country play. What's happening over there?
Their defense can't. Arizona's scoring a touchdown, as you said that.
Even if they do, that just means they're tied with New Mexico late in the second quarter.
Devin Dampier's dissecting them like fifth graders do the frogs in school. But Fafia to McMillan for 78 yards, so that's cool. Defense looks like USC's.
Yeah, I knew I should have bet Arizona State. I had a feeling about Arizona State. They're just destroying Wyoming right now.
Washington does not.
Mississippi State plays Arizona State next week. Okay, I'll just let me know when I can talk.
What do you mean?
You let me know when I can talk.
It was a continued thought.
What?
It was a continued thought. I said love the Pac-12.
Okay. All right, here we go. Rapid fire takes. Are y'all ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, Brandon.
I have already admitted how wrong I was about Notre Dame this week.
Mm-hmm.
I admitted how wrong I was about Clemson. But did y'all know anybody else in the country that was as right about Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech as I was?
Nope. Brandon?
Nobody else was saying this. No.
I'm all of you said Vanderbilt was the worst team in the SEC. Not me. Not this guy.
He has a point.
Fine.
I'm literally during this show, I've been DMing Diego Pavia. We have been talking. He asked me if I was in Nashville. He wanted me to come party with him. I wish I was there.
Well,
me and Diego would be turning the fuck up right now.
I'm the one that went out there. I put Vanderbilt on my chest this week, and I said, Vanderbilt, you better watch. Virginia Tech is overhyped. Vanderbilt's got the new quarterback. Watch out. I'm not letting anybody take this from me. This was my pick. It was my pick for the parlay. It was my pick for everything. And Vanderbilt looked good. Diego Pavia looked good. Not only that, they knew what they were, and they just kept running, and and he was doing the right thing. But it's more about the fact that Virginia Tech was the most wrongly hyped team of the entire offseason. That team is not good. That team is soft. Kyron Drones is the most overhyped player we had. He was outright bad today. That team is bad, and they should have never, ever, ever gotten that hype. Fucking ridiculous and embarrassing for anybody that ever said Virginia Tech is going to be good this year.
Did Liam say that? I don't know.
I don't even know who.
I did because I thought the ACC is awful, and it is. I thought Virginia Tech could take advantage of it with their schedule. They still technically could. Am I confident in that? No, not at all. Am I confident in the rest of the ACC? No. Except Miami, apparently.
I didn't understand the Virginia Tech hype. I totally, Brandon, was going to completely have your back here and say that you were the only person. And I told you this last week, I think on both shows, like the fact that you were so high on it. And like when you added it into the college football show parlay, like I was like, yes, because Brandon doesn't do this. Ev is 1,000% right. Because if you go back.
No, he's not. I'll stop you both there.
The SEC preview.
No, Casey, what was my other option? Why do you think I had to say Vanderbilt?
You could have said Arkansas. You could have said Arkansas.
Arkansas ain't the worst either.
But Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt were all on the table. And I understand. Of course, you're not going to take Mississippi State. You could have taken Arkansas if you thought Vanderbilt was good.
Hold on real quick. Vanderbilt could still be the worst team in the SEC, by the way.
Fair.
They ran the same play every down.
Huh?
They ran the same exact play every single
day. They could still. Virginia Tech is awful. And their hype was totally unjustified. They were a 6-6 team that only beat like the Dukes and the Wake Forest of the world last year. They never should have gotten the hype, and they were going on the road to a Vanderbilt. And I got to say one more thing about Vanderbilt. Can I just say that? How fucking long are y'all going to be working on that stadium, Vanderbilt? Every goddamn year I tune in, and there's a crane back here, and something's missing. The stadium seats 38 people. Just fix the goddamn thing already.
It is very strange, especially like when on week 1, when you're reminded of like the really beautiful stadiums and the shit stadiums. And then you're just like, and then there's the like to be continued stadium, Vanderbilt, because it's just never done.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, I don't know. That stadium has been being worked on for 10 years, and it's every single year. Like, look at Northwestern. They're building a new stadium, so they went and built them a new stadium by the lake. Vanderbilt's just in an active construction zone.
I'm going to bring up A&M again. Sorry. Like, we literally demolished an entire side like a bomb, like a movie. Like, it like completely collapsed. What's the word I'm talking about? Implode, and built it up in 1 year. Fine. I do. One last question though about Virginia Tech, because we talk about the ACC and we talk about who is bad. Like, do you think that they're just like toast for the rest of the season, or do you think?
No. Let's have that conversation now. Let's have that conversation.
That's what we do in week 1.
Huh?
That's what we do in week 1.
No, let's have that conversation now. The ACC is garbage hot dog water juice. It's just listen. North Carolina got lucky and they got out of there with a road win. Fine, good. Florida State looked terrible in week 1. Georgia Tech looked okay this week. Like, I guess they looked fine after coming home. NC State, woof. Like, that was bad. Virginia Tech, woof. Like, is there anybody in this conference that looked really good outside of Miami? Anybody?
No.
Not a single team.
No.
Blutman? Am I missing anybody?
No. I told you guys, like, I believe that this conference was genuinely terrible when we were doing our prediction stuff. I was just wrong about Miami. Miami's the real deal. The rest of it stinks.
So could Virginia Tech be good within the ACC? Yes. Is Virginia Tech good? No.
And we have to stop doing this thing every year. I'm guilty of it too, where we fall for this ACC sleeper that gets a bunch of hype. If that ever happens and you like that team, sell every stock you have before the first game is played, because it ain't going to end well.
No, and it was a weird one that it was Virginia Tech this year. It was frankly really weird. And listen, NC State shouldn't go without blame here either. Like, their preseason top 25, they're getting a lot of hype. I know Big Ev was big on NC State. They look like fucking crap the other night.
Yep.
Brandon, biggest Grayson McCall NC State guy this year, they might get demolished by Tennessee.
Yeah.
They might get taken to the absolute woodshed next week by Tennessee.
And Tennessee.
Okay.
Nico.
I got one word to say.
Nico.
I mean, listen, they play an FCS team, fine. But there's certain teams tonight that when they play an FCS team, they look like shit. And there's others like Tennessee, like Ole Miss, like others that just look like they were playing. It was like the high school seniors going down and playing the fifth graders and letting them know that like it was that bad. Like, Tennessee they look lethal. God damn, they look good.
I mean, I know he's one of the guys too that like has so much hype, and obviously, like you talk about quarterbacks, like watching that game, and I love, no free ads, like the multi-view where you can see all the different games on a specific channel. I would find myself moving the volume over to hear that game just to hear how the commentators were reacting to him, because he was just electric. And I understand they were playing nobody. Doesn't matter. He looked fucking amazing.
Big Ev, I got to ask you a question. How long into the Ohio State game were you concerned? About 10 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I never was like concerned. The thing the offensive line was concerning.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, not just getting like a dominant push early was definitely a concern. Even I thought Will Howard actually looked good. I thought too many people were. If you like watched the game, he had a bunch of really good throws that were drops. I actually thought he looked good. I thought it was very clear how much better he looks than McCord in our offense. Agreed. His mobility, his accuracy. He looks the part. He plays the part. So I actually felt good about. And Jeremiah Smith, he might be the best player on the team right now.
Crazy.
He might be like one of the best players in the country. He is one of the best players in the country today at 18 years old. He is special. I may sound crazy. I don't care. He might be the best of this last like 10, 15 guys, of the Garrett Wilsons, the Olaves, the Marvin Harrisons, all these guys. He legitimately might be the best one.
Blutman, make sure I say all the names right, but it seemed like it was a big freshman receiver day. You had Jeremiah there at Ohio State. You had
Ryan Williams
at Alabama. You had is it Cam Coleman at Auburn? You had big time freshman receivers, and I'm also missing one that were just absolutely lights out today as a receiver. These guys are at such a high level. You just show up, and the one at Alabama is Ryan Williams. He's 17 years old, and he looks like he's ready to go right now. Alabama also looks outstanding against
Ryan
Western.
Wingo in Texas might have been the other one you're looking for.
That's exactly who it was. That's exactly who it was. And since we're at Texas, let's go ahead and do the sidecar stop in Austin, because I mentioned how good Nico looked. And listen, Ole Miss looked great, winning 76-0 over Furman. Nico and Tennessee over Chattanooga 69-3. And Texas 52-0 over
Colorado State.
Team that they play. Yes, not an FCS team. Frankly, not a terrible Colorado State team. Beat the shit out of them. Arch Manning gets in, throws his first touchdown pass of the season, and
that Quinn Ewers no-look throw gave me fucking nightmares. I know that Quinn Ewers, and we'll see when they actually get into SEC play, fine, but that man is a menace. He is a problem.
Yeah, and Texas looked really, really fucking good. And now next week sets up Texas at Michigan. And listen, Michigan looked really, really fucking good on offense tonight. They played Fresno State, and they almost got 260 total yards. Michigan's offense was fucking lights out. The quarterback, oh my God, he completed a pass one time. The running back, Donovan Edwards, almost averaged 1.5 yards a carry. Big F, this team looked incredible.
I mean, listen, Brandon, Fresno State, no slouch. We know those tough run defenses.
Sure.
I mean, we've said forever. I mean, Fresno State, the Big Ten of the West.
Mm-hmm.
Many have said that for many, many, many years. Michigan stinks. It was just pleasant to watch them struggle to even just get a push. It is just so clear on offense. They downgraded everywhere.
Every single position.
Offensive line, quarterback, running back, and receivers. They downgraded everywhere. The defense, still good. Offense, dog shit. Both quarterbacks stink. Warren stinks. OG, they both stink. Texas is going to roll in and mollywop them next week.
Yeah.
Texas is,
good. Texas is really fucking good.
Really good. And the fact that that there's always going to be the people that are as soon as Quinn Ewers even remotely looks like he's going to struggle, you're going to have, the Arch Manning, let's get him up type of guys. But the fact that they were so dominant today, and again, I knew they would win by a lot. I didn't think Colorado State would get completely shut out. But the fact that then you see Arch Manning and he comes in and he immediately scores, you're just like, what? I mean, they're just stacked. They're stacked. It's hard as an Aggie to see, but as somebody who covers the sport as a whole, you're like, okay, if Sark can keep his shit together, because I feel like he might be the biggest weakness of the entire situation, they're dangerous.
That's fine, Casey, but this is about Michigan. Michigan offense was so fucking good. Again, Donovan Edwards, 11 carries, 27 yards. The one thing that I was worried about, it looked like Michigan hadn't really done their homework against this team or something. It looked like they were sometimes the Fresno State would run a play and it looked like Michigan didn't know exactly what that play was. I don't know, Big Ab, did you notice that?
Yeah, I just, Brandon, I was watching. I was curious maybe if they hadn't maybe seen them play in person before. They hadn't watched enough film.
Yeah.
Maybe they were spending too much time making movies of their own.
Sure.
Instead of focusing on the season. Just a thought. Cameras falling around a former employee as opposed to maybe, I don't know, you have a season upcoming. Maybe Fresno State. I mean, hey, Fresno State, really good team. You should maybe take it a little more serious.
I was at the Antioch High School football game last night. Casey, this is the first time this has happened to me. I was sitting on the because I don't like sitting in the stands. I like to prop up. I'm like the old man. I didn't play at the school, but I'm like the old man that says, "Oh, that used to be me." And I'm right there on the fence, and I'm just doing my thing. Guy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, man." I say, "What's up?" And he said, "I recognize you." And I thought, "Oh, yeah, you recognize me from Barstool." He goes, "You were on the Connor Stallions documentary." I said, "What?" Yeah, I was, but I'm. You mean I'm also with Barstool? He didn't know me from Barstool. He knew me from the Connor Stallion style.
Have you still not watched your part in it?
Not gonna watch it.
I didn't know. Like, it's not just like, oh, like it's like a pan of the desk. Like, you're literally like you're calling Dave like a dumb motherfucker. Like, it's a very memorable moment if you're watching it as a Michigan fan, I would assume.
Okay, that's super because Dave is a dumb motherfucker, and I'll call him that tonight and next week in Ann Arbor before they get shit pumped by Texas.
I'm so excited that we're going back there just because I think it's going to be fun in general. Also, you mentioned North Texas. Ev, you're in the college football parlay, the college football show parlay, because Dave's the only one that lost, and I can't imagine how Brandon's going to handle that.
Yep, you had North Texas.
I had North Texas. Dan texted me and was like really good call on North Texas. I bet them like separately from the parlay once Dave fucks the parlay up. And I was like, if Dan is texting me that it's a good take, like I want to print that out and put it on a mirror because I'm not a big time gambler like you guys are, but I felt really good about that. And then I thought about, I was like, oh my God, the fact that Dave is the one that lost the parlay, like Brandon's just going to have a field day in Ann Arbor.
Bloodman, let me go back to his team. We already mentioned a little bit, but we didn't really stay there. Concerns about Oregon?
Concerns about Oregon. I gotta be honest. I didn't really start watching the game until the late third quarter. I think it is concerning that they weren't able to score more points. As simple as that is, I know Dylan Gabriel hit his hand on the helmet early in the game. If that affected them all game, get Dante Moore in there, I suppose, instead of trying to have Gabriel tough it out. I wasn't too impressed with Oregon when I actually got to see them play. Their defense missed a lot of assignments. Idaho was just moving the ball fairly well, and I've watched Idaho struggle in big games in the last few years where they don't look fully prepared and they kind of just don't have it. They had tonight, though. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Like, Oregon's they sleptwalked. It is what it is. They weren't there mentally.
Yeah, that's fine and everything. So we talked about freshman receivers. Now let's talk about a freshman quarterback who was handed the reins to the job. Nebraska looked pretty good today. Pretty good. Defense looked really good. They didn't play a team like as good as Fresno, but they came out, won 40-7, and Dylan Raiola, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked the part from as far as walking into college football and being ready to play. He looked the part so far, Big F.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. You go in, you play a team like UTEP, you go smash them, you cover the spread. And Raiola looked good. He got his feet wet. He made some good throw. I mean, he looks the part as a whole. He looks like a guy. You see him you talk about Cam Ward, the arm angles. He can throw from all the arm angles. He's got a big arm, accurate, good ball placement. They're a team I'm in on. I think they're going to win 8-9 games this year.
That's a great point. You watch a little. If you dive bomb in on Nebraska, you can watch 3 plays and immediately know he looks like a guy.
Yes.
Tennessee, Nico, like from moment one, looked like a guy. Like it just looks different when you see one out there, and they both seem like they got guys for the future because Nico's a freshman too. So that's exciting. But yeah,
Dylan Raiola too.
Nebraska's defense is also very good. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, Dylan Raiola, like that. I mean, obviously, like, making the decision, and we said this, Ed, like, we were like, no shit that he's going to start. Like, the first few series of the game, like, when they started off slow and then all of a sudden it didn't matter anymore. And like you said, they covered the spread. I think the spread was like 27.5, 28. Like, it was almost like he's so good and he looks the part that, like, those first few series where it was like a slow start, like, that's what you kind of expect from freshman quarterbacks for like maybe a game or even like half a season. It was like, no, he just needed to get that out of the way. And it was just like lights on because the rest of the team is so talented too. Like that defense is very good. Yes, UTEP is no, powerhouse, but again, they're not a slouch of a team either.
All right, Blubman, I'm going to alley-oop you here. If we talk about one player in this country that put up eye-popping stats and was great today,
yeah,
it's this guy right here. Tell him about him.
Yeah. True freshman at Boise State, 17 years old. Sire Gaines had a really good game. Ashton Genty, Boise State running back, 20 for 267 and 6 touchdowns. Had to leave the game, couldn't smash all these records because he got cramps. He got really bad cramps. He put it all out there. He is a literal cheat code. He's the best running back in the country. I don't even think it's close. It's not up for debate. The contact balance, the signature stiff arm, The footwork, everything is smooth. It's precise. It's perfect. It's just pinpoint. It's professional. He could play in the NFL next week and go run for 100 yards.
6 touchdowns. It's crazy.
Yeah, he was excellent. Now I am a little concerned that team gave up 45 points. Like they look great.
Not a very good football team outside the running back room.
Now we got to go back to Thursday night, because remember when I said Clemson, the one thing that was troubling to me about Clemson was the same problems they had last year are still there. Well, go ahead and copy and paste that sentence. Let's go to Boulder, Colorado. The same problems that plagued that team from last year are still there. They won the game 31-26 over North Dakota State. The defensive line is still soft as butter. The offensive line still can't really protect. They really can't run the ball. They do have an incredible quarterback who, when given time, makes the right throw and the perfect throw every time. They have probably, pound for pound, the very best football player in America in Travis Hunter. But they're not a very good team, Big F. They're not.
No, they're not. I mean, listen, they're pretty much the same team they were last year. I think the front seven might be just a little bit better. The defense did play a lot better in the second half, but it's North Dakota State. It's not some power team. Listen, they're a great FCS team. But no, they're the same team, but they're incredibly fun to watch because, I mean, it was unbelievable. It was just scary to watch how quickly they were scoring in the first half, but then also the way they were just getting bled on drives the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still soft. And the offensive line, especially the interior of the offensive line, is bad. They were getting so much pressure on them up the middle.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is really bad.
Their defense is just so soft. I mean, it's crazy. And like when you look at what they were supposed to do in the transfer portal, and again, like week one fine will overreact. Like it really did look like that they were going to at least go out and try to beef up the defensive front. I do think the offensive line played they were still, like you said, the interior is bad. I think they played a little bit better. Shadur had a little bit more time. But like when you look at like what was supposed to come in and look against an FCS team, like it just didn't. I don't know what by the time Saturday comes around, what I'm going to say Nebraska, Colorado score is going to be, but I don't think it's going to look like it did last year.
Braden Larson with a comment there. He said, North Dakota State is a powerhouse. Just say that you don't know ball. See, this is why on these Saturday night chats, I should do a good job of reading more chats, and I will in a second. But when somebody says something like that, please, North Dakota State's a powerhouse, tell me you don't know ball. You're just not intelligent enough to be here. You're a dumb fucking cunt. You're just a fucking idiot, because look around this country. South Dakota State is a better football team than North Dakota State is right now in 2024. Oklahoma State rolled South Dakota State, okay? North Dakota State is not the Chris Kleiman prime era North Dakota State. This is a pretty solid team. It's a pretty solid team. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Alabama, Ohio State would have beaten that team by 60 points. 60 points. That's how they would have treated them. And Colorado was lucky to get out of there with a win. Lucky as hell.
They're not a powerhouse when you talk about like Division I football. I will say though, like they are. I mean, Liam was riding this for a long time. They are a sneaky good team. Colorado was only favored by 9.5. It's not like because
Colorado's a 4-8 team. They're not good.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, like the reason they were only favored by 9.5 is because they can't fucking stop anybody, and they're not very good.
But I do agree with you that pound for pound, Travis Hunter is the best player in the country.
He's the best player in the country.
The only reason they won that game is because they're just different in their receiving room. They have elite level talent. They have an elite level talent in their receiving room, and then 3 other really good receivers, 2 with game-breaking speed, and they took advantage of inferior talent in the FCS secondary. That was the difference in the game.
And they have a quarterback who can really deliver the ball. Shadur is, when he stands in the pocket, and when he steps up in the pocket amid a rush, he can make a great throw. And then when he's not bothered in the pocket, the throw is going to be perfect, like every single time. It's never going to be. He gets himself in trouble when he starts to scramble, because he has a tendency to just kind of loop around and go around with no plan whatsoever, and that gets him in trouble, especially with a bad offensive line. But when he doesn't do that, he might be the best quarterback in the country. And
you watch that team, and like I understand why he's at Colorado. It makes sense. He wanted to play with his dad, but like imagine him in an offense where the offensive line can protect him. Imagine like that, or a defense that's even like remotely capable of stopping somebody. Like he would be an absolute. problem for people. He is a problem, but like they just don't have the guys to protect him.
Big Ed,
a clean pocket. He will carve your ass up.
carve.
Like his ball placement. His ball placement always seems to be perfect. I mean, and he throws a pretty ball too. He throws a tight spiral.
And Travis Hunter does shit. Travis Hunter's not going to win the Heisman, probably.
He should.
He probably should. Like he was on the field for 100 and how many plays? 113 plays? Like
113, 14.
However many plays were in the game. Subtract 2 from that, and that's how many times. I think he set out 2 plays of the entire game.
I just don't understand how that's like physically, humanly possible.
Well, the problem is it probably isn't. That's why he missed a couple of weeks last year, and it probably isn't. But he is fucking phenomenal. A couple more takes before we get to some other stuff. Napier, obviously, the way they played, he's going to get fired very soon. It looked like Sam Pittman was on the hot seat. They played very well the other night. They looked really good. But South Carolina,
God,
the Shane Beamer era has got to be wrapping up pretty soon. They win 23-19 over Old Dominion. Bloodman, I didn't watch that game very closely. Mississippi State was playing at the exact same time. Yep. I don't know if you got in there.
I did not watch that game.
Well, you didn't have to because South Carolina was god awful, and they're not very good. I know we mentioned earlier Mississippi State, Vanderbilt,
Arkansas.
South Carolina might be the worst team in the SEC this year.
I didn't watch the game. The only reason I even knew what was going on other than just like checking scores was I have a really close friend who's a South Carolina fan, and he was texting me that he wanted to drink bleach. So my assumption was they were pretty bad. Shane Beamer, how many years has he been there now? 4?
I believe this is year 4.
4?
Yeah,
maybe 5. COVID always throws it off. But like what has he done? Like what's he done? Like why? Like I understand. Like you got the name, whatever. Like there's like one season where they beat A&M, and the only reason I remember that is because South Carolina fans remind me. But like there's not been like the up and down of like this guy looks phenomenal and then they have a bad season. Like what has he done to still be there?
I'll tell you what. I think the most impressive team today, and I know Big Ev agrees with me. In Starkville, Mississippi, things are changing. Listen, Blake Shapen's probably winning the Heisman. 200 and some odd yards. The offense was fast. It was great. It was incredible. 56-7 over. Was it Kentucky or Louisville? Which team from Kentucky did we play, Blutman?
We played Eastern Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah. So huge win for Mississippi State. Dominant. So you bitches had your fun. It's great. It's over now. So get used to it. Is there any team that I haven't mentioned yet?
Well, the chat brought up when we were kind of hanging on the ACC, it was kind of unfair of us to dismiss Louisville and throw them into the bottom of the barrel. They haven't, they won 6-0 against the corpse of Austin Peay because everyone left to UTEP. So
I'm going to go ahead and tell you something. Louisville won 10 games last year, and every time I watched them, they were fucking awful. I'm going to go ahead and just reserve the right to say Louisville is just not.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, no, it's also like we're all guilty of this. Like when a team, like the way Michigan played today, like we talk about look how they played against an FCS team. And then like we just said like Louisville, whatever. Like we know how good Miami is because Miami just played an SEC team. Now Florida is ass, but like they still at least play. Like we're not going to prop up Louisville for beating Austin Peay.
All right, y'all ready? So I'm going to rapid fire through some conference scores. And the way this is just, I'm not doing scores. You all know the scores. I'm not just doing a blind scoreboard read. I'm reading them so that when we hit somebody we haven't talked about, we can stop and say, oh, we haven't talked about them. So in the ACC, Georgia Tech, that was last week. In the ACC, why has it got last week's scores on here? Anyway, Wake Forest beats North Carolina A&T 45-13. NC State 38, Western Carolina 21. It was not nearly a 17-point win. North Carolina 19-17 over Minnesota. They escaped. Duke 26-3 over Elon. They didn't look very good. TCU outlast Stanford 34-27. That was for us Friday night gambling guys. Were you on Stanford plus 8.5, whatever it was?
See, I was on Stanford, but I was on the under, so it was like fucked. I should have won both.
But that was a roller coaster. It was Stanford was the right play for 58 minutes. Then it was the exact wrong play, and then it was the right play again.
I'll say Ashton Daniels, fun
Yeah.
to watch. Chaos.
Yeah.
Absolute chaos.
Pitt 55-24 over Kent State this morning. Pitt, kind of handled business. Louisville 62, Austin P nothing. Clemson gets destroyed by Georgia. Virginia Tech embarrasses themselves against Vanderbilt. Syracuse 38-22 over Ohio. McCord played pretty well, Big F.
He played fine.
Don't do that.
I have no ill will towards Kyle McCord.
I loved their head coach being like, I want to personally send Ryan Day a bottle of champagne for letting me get Kyle McCord.
We're happy with who we got.
Miami 41, Florida 17. ACC Power, California 31, UC Davis 13. That was a little squirrely for a while. Virginia 34, Richmond 13, SMU 59-7 over HB. And I'm going to say Houston Baptist.
I think it's Houston Christian, right?
They changed to Houston Christian like 2-3 years ago. Yeah,
It used to be Houston Baptist. Now it's
Score app, change it from HB.
It's Houston Christian now, Brandon. Get it right.
Georgia Tech 30-35, Georgia State 12. Georgia Tech kind of fought through the little, the hangover of beating Florida State in Ireland and kind of did what they did. In the Big 12, Arizona is up 27-24 over New Mexico at the half. Wyoming is getting destroyed by Arizona State 34-0. First game under a new coach for Wyoming, by the way, and that don't look good. UCF 57, New Hampshire 3, Kansas 48, Lindenwood 3. I like that discussion y'all had on Pick Central. The Lindenwood's just not a real school.
No.
For sure. Desir went there.
Colorado 31, North Dakota State 26. Utah 49-0 over Southern Utah. Just a quiet, kind of perfect start for Cam Rising. Just go get his feet wet again. And they looked as solid as they needed to look. TCU with the win over Stanford. West Virginia with the loss to Penn State. Oklahoma State 44, South Dakota State 20. Have we given Oklahoma State their flowers yet? Because maybe we should. All right, good stuff. That's your flowers. Stillwater.
That was Blutman. I mean, South Dakota State. He's got to address.
Do they deserve flowers?
I watched Griffin Wilde turn 7 catches into 150 yards and a touchdown against the Big 12 defense. I'm content.
Oklahoma State handled business. They
did.
Yeah.
A few miscues on the first 2 drives from South Dakota State. Shot themselves in the foot. They were playing from behind all game after that. They had a free touchdown they missed on the second drive of the game.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch that game. So,
Blevin, here's what you can't bring your FCS sadness here. You got to let it go, man.
I'm giving that was an honest take. What do you mean?
Cincinnati 38, Towson 20, Iowa State 21, North Dakota 3. That was kind of lackluster.
Yeah, that's another top 25 FCS team. I don't know why Iowa State couldn't score on them though.
Baylor 45, Tarleton State 3. How was Daquan Finn in his debut at Baylor?
Good, handle business.
Yeah. Kansas State 41, Tennessee Martin 6. Now here's one. Blutman. UNLV 27, Houston 7.
Yeah, UNLV is going to be one of the most fun teams to watch in the country.
I've
been trying to tell you guys since last year. And now they got Luka Doncic at quarterback.
Luka Doncic is playing quarterback.
Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic.
His brother.
Okay. Wait. Okay.
Are you the Texas Tech score?
I just missed the score?
The Texas Tech score, yes.
Brought up Abilene Christian earlier.
Oh, I wasn't doing that on purpose. I knew they had been in a close game early. I figured Texas Tech in overtime beats Abilene Christian 52-51.
Yes.
Now, when I see that score, does that mean Texas Tech went for 2 and got it, or does that mean Abilene Christian went for 2 and didn't get it?
Abilene Christian missed the 2-point conversion.
This is, and I'm obviously Abilene Christian, like their name alone probably like leads you to believe that they're, not a powerhouse football team. This is like when you said earlier, like the varsity guys going down and beating the 5th graders, like in the state of Texas, this is kind of what that is. Like Texas Tech, again, they're not, the cream of the crop of the state. They're pretty up there. They've had some pretty damn good teams. Abilene Christian is like beating 2nd graders.
Yeah, they had
no business being in that game.
They dropped the game-winning touchdown with like 7-8 seconds left to Abilene Christian at the end of regulation.
BYU 41, SIU, I guess that's Southern Illinois.
Yeah, about 15.
13. Let's see. We go to the
Big 10.
Yeah, there we go. Well, hold on. Daddy clicked the wrong thing. Big Ten. Yep. Washington's up 14-0 over Weber State at the half. USC will play tomorrow. Rutgers 44, Howard 7. North Carolina, Minnesota 19-17. 45-0 for Illinois over Eastern Illinois. Michigan State 16, FAU 10. Yikes.
That team stinks.
They look bad. Big F. Aiden Giles did not look good.
No, he looked awful, like truly awful.
His throwing motion changed.
Throwing the football, he was horrific.
He forgot how to throw the football.
Inaccurate, like every box of just like bad quarterback play. Aiden Giles checked it off.
He had a different throwing motion this week than he did at Oregon State, which is bizarre because he was very accurate at Oregon State. Also, they did not look at all like a Jonathan Smith coach team. They are extremely undisciplined. They had like 7-8 late hits.
Wisconsin 28, Western Michigan 14. That one was a little shifty there for Wisconsin. That got scary.
They got Western Michigan was about to win that game. They don't muff that punt.
Yeah.
They might win that game.
Purdue 49, Indiana State nothing, Maryland 50, UConn 7, Iowa 40, Illinois State nothing. Iowa looked pretty damn good. Of course, the defense did exactly what you thought they would do. Indiana 31, FIU 7, Ohio State 52, Akron 6. Probably the game of the day, the most exciting game of the day. Northwestern 13, Miami of Ohio 6 in front of 1,500 fans.
Mm-hmm.
What a remarkable game that was. Nebraska 40, UTEP 7. UCLA, you almost called this on the money line. You did call it on the spread, though, Big Ev. UCLA 16, Hawaii 13. And it seemed like Hawaii was in control of that for most of the game, and then UCLA kind of came from behind and got it. But they're bad.
Hawaii left a lot of points off the board, too. I mean, at the half, they get a pick at the 5-yard line, don't score. They had they should have won that game outright. They really should have.
Ethan Garbers might be the worst quarterback in the world.
Yeah. Oregon 24, Idaho 14, and then Michigan gets lucky and barely beats Fresno 30-10. Very disappointing. Probably the most embarrassing performance by a defending national champ in years. Let's see.
What was that little growl?
What did I say? Did I growl?
He growled. It was because he was.
I growl every now and then.
He was
I
using
didn't know
hand
that about
signals.
you.
Arkansas 70, Arkansas Pine Bluff nothing. Taylor Green looked good. The running back, Jaquindon Jackson, looked good. Arkansas looked good. Now, Arkansas Pine Bluff, not good.
No.
But they handled them like, last year they might have won this game like 35-24. So they came a long way. Missouri 51, Murray State nothing. Oklahoma 51, Temple 3. Georgia 34, Clemson 3. Vanderbilt 34, Virginia Tech 27. Tennessee 69, Chattanooga 3. Florida gets embarrassed because they're terrible. Texas 52, Colorado State nothing. South Carolina 23-19 over Old Dominion. Mississippi, by God, State 56.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky 7. Ole Miss 76 nothing over Furman. And 76 was charitable because they legitimately could have scored 100 points.
Jackson Dart was, again, Furman's nothing, but Jackson Dart was crazy.
Jackson Dart might – just short list of who you can say might be the best quarterback in the country. And unfortunately for myself, Jackson Dart is on that list. Alabama 63, Western Kentucky nothing. Auburn 73, Alabama A&M. Boy, these SEC teams were fucking angry today.
Yep.
73-3 over Alabama A&M. Notre Dame 23, Texas A&M 13, and Kentucky 31, Southern Miss nothing.
After three-quarter final score.
Yeah, the weather just never would let them get going. All right, good stuff. So here we go. Now we do our winners, our losers, and our shit list. So, Big Ev, don't know if you know how to do this segment, but I'm going to start with you. Big Ev, who won the week?
I think without question it's Miami, Brandon. Miami setting the tone that they're not only the best team in the ACC, but a legitimate national title contender. Obviously, it's a long season. We'll see how it plays out. But Cam, we talked about, you asked me, who was the player I was looking forward to watching the most? It was Cam Ward, and he delivered big time. We talk about the arm angles. We talk about the explosive wide receivers, the multitude of running backs, the offensive line that was dominating up front. the defense, who was stingy on all levels. They put themselves as a serious team. Mario Cristobal's got a ton of shit this offseason, how he's a horrible coach, the Georgia Tech blunder last year. I mean, this was a statement win. I know we've debated how good Florida is, if they're dog shit, mediocre, whatever, regardless, doesn't even matter. To go in the swamp and just kick the shit out of them in that way, to me, they are clearly the winner of the weekend.
Blutman, who won the week?
So since I'm new to this, do you only do one of these? Because I brought 5.
What?
Yeah, we usually.
No, Casey, stop.
Okay.
You know, Big Ev, me, and Casey are only doing 1. You will be doing 5. But because you're doing 5,
He goes last.
No.
Oh.
You go now. But because you're doing 5, you have to shorten these the blurbs. Okay, give me your 5.
The first winner is Billy Napier's bank account. He's owed over $26 million once he gets bought out. Congratulations, very rich man. The second one, Drew Aller, NFL draft prospect. Once again, finally. I'm so excited to see what he could do this season. Number 3, Sluka Doncic. The nickname for Matthew Sluka that I have created is taking over. Very fun player to watch at UNLV. 4, Jason X, FBS head coaching prospects. I think he's got a chance to do it. I think he showed that today against Oregon. He's aggressive. He's fun. Big Cat was in love with him. People love this guy. Players coach. He'll get a chance soon. And then my last one, Robert Morris's very own Rob Carter Jr. with the interception of the season against Utah State.
Unbelievable interception.
You know what? You did pretty good with those 5.
Yeah,
I like
you did.
that.
You did.
You want to bring 5? Bring 5. You want to bring 9? Bring 9. I don't give a fuck. Blutman, you just bring it. Casey, who won the week?
I mean, Ev's right. It's Miami, but if I want to just give a little bit of different answer, I'll say Cam Ward. I mean, he was obviously the guy that was one of the most coveted guys in the portal. And I mean, I even had, like, whenever we put out the clip from the college football show and I picked Miami, like, I had Florida fans being like, what are you talking about? Like, he had like a 65 QBR, whatever, like just talking shit. I was like, these Florida fans are delusional, but Cam Ward being the guy that he was immediately in an in-state rivalry. And when you look at, like, in all the memes of Miami, Florida State, and Florida, like, this kid's brand new there. Like, he's just brand new into Miami, and he comes in and he revitalizes that entire fan base against Florida in the swamp. And he just looked so talented and so poised. And so if I have to select one person, I think it's him, but Ev is completely right. I mean, Florida looked like shit, but Miami won the weekend. Brandon, who won the weekend?
I have 27.
Okay. All right.
No, I am going to cheat a little bit and have 3. And I'm only cleaning up the ones that I think were left on the cutting room floor. But I mean, it's hard not to say Notre Dame, right? Like, Notre Dame, there were 2 ranked on ranked matchups. One was at a neutral site. One, a team had to go into another ranked team's house and on prime time in front of 100,000, a really tough stadium to play in hot, humid weather, and handled business. Like in the fourth quarter, a tie game, they were the ones that closed out with that championship stuff. So Notre Dame won the week. I think Penn State won the week. It's not that big of a deal they went to West Virginia and won. It is a big deal that they went and looked that good, winning 34-12. It is a big deal that Drew Aller looked like the guy everybody thought Drew Aller was going to look like. They won the week. And last but not least, Georgia. Georgia shit pumped Clemson. Clemson is not a bad football team. I don't care what anybody says out there. They're not a bad football team. They're going to be a pretty good football team. Are they as good as I thought they were? Probably not. But they're not 34-3 getting embarrassed in Atlanta, Georgia bad. And that's exactly what happened to them. So those are the 3. It's Notre Dame, Penn State, Georgia. They won the weekend. Now, Big Av, who lost the weekend?
Brandon, no, I really think it was Clemson. I think Clemson lost weekend because, to me, like, you're probably right. They're not a horrible team, but I think they showed today they're not a serious team. And Dabo, life comes at you real fast. So you can hang on to. He was a 2-time national title coach, this and that. Guess what? Long time ago, brother. Long time ago. The sport has changed. It's coming at you very quick. And if you don't adapt, either get with it or get lost. And he's about to get lost real fast. He's going to figure this shit out. He's going to it's a long season. But, I mean, this game should be such a wake-up call that this offseason, you've got to fill holes in the transporter. You've got to go out and get established receivers from other schools to bring in weapons, offense. They don't have it, and they haven't had it in so long. They have no weapons. And I mean, if you want to talk about just a quick winner too, I mean, DJU, he's got to be sitting there like, hey, it wasn't me. It was not me. The other guy also stunk. The offense stinks. There's no weapons around him. I mean, Clemson, to me, they are not a serious contender. Maybe they fuck around and win the ACC. I don't think they're going to. Maybe they do, but regardless, they are not a team that can hang with the big boys.
Lovman, how many you got?
Yeah, it's 5. I just wanted to tack on to the point here about DJ.
I love him so much.
I've been so annoyed with everybody and talking about Clemson and acting like, yes, DJ wasn't good, but it's the same exact issue 4 straight years with DJ and Clubden. The next guy's going to have the same issues too. It's annoying, it's tiring, and people need to be better talking about it. My 5 losers, I promise you I did not mean to do this first one how I've done it, but I've done it. Notre Dame, Texas A&M viewers' eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That was unintentional.
See what happened?
Yep.
Look at your eyes. I mean, there's no doubt that you're correct about that.
And Giles and Michigan State, gargantuan loser. Gross. The Utah State cow-spotted helmets, absolutely vile. Never wear those things again. A monstrosity. A monstrosity, if you will. NFL teams hoping to get Ashton Genty in the middle of the second round. You're done. That ain't happening. He's going to be a fringe first-round player now. He's that special. The Central Standard Time is not better than the Pacific Standard Time when it comes to watching college football. Having to wait till 11 to watch college football is gross.
Casey Smith, who lost the weekend?
I feel like, by the way, starting next week, like Bloodman has to finish these categories off because like going right after him is crazy. I mean, to me, it's Dabo. You could go a bunch of different ways, but like I said it earlier in the show, like now there are people, and I do think Dabo is obviously a very good coach. He's been able to put together great teams, but the fact that without Deshaun Watson and without Trevor Lawrence, like there's very clearly an issue on offense, and he's refusing to evolve. And he has all these little quips in the media that for a long time were fine because it was like, okay, well, Dabo's being Dabo and the team buys in and like, oh, whatever, he's this kooky guy. Like you can't go out, yesterday or today, whenever it was, or 2 days ago at this point, because it's like 1 a.m. and be like, the scoreboard doesn't matter. And then you go out and you get shellacked by, yes, the best team in the country, but also like teams that a few years ago you would be competing with for a national title. Like it's just not, it's embarrassing at this point. Like, yes, you won a couple national titles and Clemson should always love you, but like now he's getting to the point now where his like shtick is a little bit tired. And for me to say that means that he's losing, because I've always bought into like, well, the players love Dabo, so he's fine. At this point, like you got to change something up, dude, or you're going to be run out in an unhappy way. Brandon, who lost the weekend?
So it's 2, and then I'm going to go with the one I would have said the main one that I had. I don't see how it's not Virginia Tech. They were given hype based on nothing. They were given the 18 of 22 starters coming back from a 6-6 team. People thought they could be a dark horse. People thought they were going to be very good. They were installed as 2 touchdown favorites at Vanderbilt. Not only did they come out and lose at Vanderbilt, guys, it's Vanderbilt. Like that, there's a certain you go out and you lose. Clemson loses to Georgia, okay. Texas A&M loses Notre Dame, okay. There is an aura about losing to Vanderbilt to open the season. When you spend 8 months getting hyped for this season and Kyron Drones, and you come out and Vanderbilt physically mauls you, like that Virginia Tech team is bad. And there is the worst day on the calendar for every college football fan is their first loss of the season. That's when it hurts the most. It hurts more when you hype your team and you get excited for your team for 8 months and you can't wait for this team and it's a big year and it's going to be awesome. And then in week 1, it all comes crashing down just like that. That is some serious, intense college football pain. And that's what Virginia Tech fans are going through right now. And number 2, who lost the weekend? It's Florida Gators. You also spent all season hyping yourself up and getting ready to have Miami, your rival, come in, one of your rivals come in, and you let them push you around the yard, beat you 41-17, they lost the week 2. Now, I'm anxious to see how this goes. So we have one more segment here. It's called the shit list. And that's basically when how do you describe it, Casey? I've never had to describe it because I think you just hate on somebody or you put them on blast.
No, yes, you hate on somebody, but you just unleash. It doesn't have to be a team or a player. It could be yourself. I'd put myself on it a lot. I think it became a thing because it was like we all have like a pent up take that needs to walk off the podcast. And the way it usually works, if somebody has a very clear one, they walk off the podcast. So let the hate out of your heart.
All right.
Which, by the way, side note, Brandon, you know what I realized we didn't do this year?
What?
Hate week.
Oh, goddamn.
I thought about it when I was watching Florida today, because I remember one of the biggest things that I fought about with Florida fans was because Jack or Katie or whoever like put it out that I during hate week, I talked about how much I hate the swamp. And I was like, shit, we didn't do our end of May hate week episode.
Well, we might have to do an in-season hate week. All right, Big Ev, you're up. Shit list.
Brandon, my shit list at the top, I think it's going to be college football referees. I don't know what is. I feel like year and year, they just get worse and worse and worse. And not only is it just the refereeing on the field, it's the reviews. They have reviews that are clear as day incorrect. They don't change them. The glaring one that I want to talk about. And this is as of West Virginia better. That fourth down that they gave to West Virginia was one of the most egregious calls I've ever seen. He was not within a full yard of the first down marker. Not only did they call it a first down on the field, they reviewed it and still called it a first down. And the thing I hate more than anything is the makeup call, because the makeup call should not be a thing. Call the game the right way. Then Penn State comes down, throws a 60-yard bomb where the receiver mugs the cornerback, pushes off him. I mean, it was insane. That led to that touchdown to end the half by Penn State. Just time again, some of these reviews are just so bad. I don't know if you blame the refs, the people in the booth, wherever they're making the call. I'm blaming all of them. They are fucking brutal. Referees are on my shit list.
Let me piggyback off that and ask you a question, Big Ev. And it's something I noticed, and I didn't think about it till you just said it. Are we just not calling pushing off on receivers anymore? I feel like I saw more catches in the end zone where the receiver just pushes off and catches the ball this weekend than I've seen in years. Anybody else notice that?
There's a lot. I mean, it started on Travis Hunter did it a few times on the Colorado game.
He did.
And it was like, I understand it's Travis Hunter and it's Colorado, but he's very clearly pushing off, and it happened all weekend. So it wasn't just a Colorado thing.
Yeah, very good point. Blumman, I'm going to go with my instincts here, and I kind of like the look in your eyes. So you're going to go last.
Oh, hell yeah.
You're going to walk us off. I got a feeling you got to walk off in you. Casey, who's your shit list?
Well, it's obviously just I don't care what school you are. If you lose in week one, like A&M losing in week one is fucking awful, because you know why? A few years ago, everybody would make fun of A&M like, oh my God, look, they're 8-4. Well, guess what? We were at least waiting until fucking October to let the wheels off the train. Okay. And I understand it was Notre Dame, and I understand, I think Notre Dame was overrated going into this game. They shouldn't have been a top 10 team, but at home, 7:30 at night it's not like Notre Dame has a great offense either. Notre Dame's defense is phenomenal. Fine. A&M has a great defense. Losing in week one is the fucking pits, because, and listen, I'm not saying the season is over, because obviously it's not, but all the hope that you have going into the season with a new coach. I said it on last week's episode, Mike Elko is like the brand new hot girlfriend. You have all the hope in the world. The offense isn't going to look like Jimbo Fisher spilling out 100 fucking pages of play calls onto the ground. We had people today talking about the font of the coaches' sweatshirts. See, look at the old shitty font Jimbo Fisher was wearing, and look how cool Mike Elko's shirt with old Sarge is. I'm losing in week one is the fucking worst. So my shit list is having the hope that you have die in August. Do you know how bad that feels? Mm-hmm. I'm sure you do. Ev, I understand, since you've been an Ohio State fan, you have truly won a national title, but do you know how it feels in week one to be like, why did I do this to myself again?
No,
you don't. No, I saw there's a meme that's going viral that's February, I miss college football, and it goes March, all the way down through the summer, and then in August, it's what the fuck is going on? Fuck these people. That's how I feel. That's how I feel today. So my shit list is, I guess, I don't know, maybe myself for doing it again, but losing in week one is the pits, the fucking pits. Brandon, what's your shit list?
So my team is still in the national title hunt, and I have $100 million at stake.
Okay.
So I think I'm the only one here. I'm the only one here that has a chance to win $100 million this year. So, and listen, Casey, if I win the $100 million, I'm taking care of you. I'm telling you right now, if I win the $100 million, I will give you $1,000 as an appreciation of always being here with me. So
Cheap ass. You're a cheap ass.
shout out to you.
I'll rob your ass for more than 1,000.
My shit list. I'm not wearing a Miami jersey on accident here, by the way. My shit list are the Florida Gators and Billy Napier. You had 8 months to come up with something. You had 8 months to welcome Miami in. You had 8 months. You had the swamp. You have had 4 years now since they panic fired Dan Mullen. They were wrong to fire Dan Mullen. He won 30 games his first 3 years. He went to 3 New Year's bowls, went to 3 big bowls, went to the SEC championship game. He had 1 bad year, and they said, "We're Florida. We can't have that." They fired him, and they've been garbage juice ever since. They have not been good. Billy Napier is a trash coach from the Sun Belt. Never should have been given a top 15 program like Florida, but he was given it. And Florida fans are still, to this day, so stupid that they'll say, "Yeah, we were right to fire Dan Mullen. We were right to fire Dan Mullen." Yeah, enjoy going 4-8 every year because you hired a guy with 50% of the ceiling of Dan Mullen. You were wrong to fire him, and you deserve Billy Napier. You deserve a guy who doesn't go get dudes. You deserve a guy who can't call plays. You deserve a guy who can't get teams up. You deserve a guy who is the very worst coach in the SEC. Florida is a top 15 program in the country. They should be competing for national titles, and you're sitting there with your arms folded, accepting the worst coach in the SEC simply because you want to be right about firing Dan Mullen. You were wrong then. You're wrong now. Enjoy Billy Napier, the worst coach in the SEC. Have fun, Florida.
I love it, Brandon. I love it. I love it. You know what? The man was doomed ever since he talked about the matching socks. Never forget.
All right. Blutman, big spot for you. The bases.
Yeah, you made a great evaluation there, Brandon. Very good job. Poor evaluation trying to make me walk it off here. I don't got much. I want to tell you, Tatoria McMillan has 7 catches for 248 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's why you should be watching Arizona. Now, for my thing, I was going to rip into Dabo, but we kind of already did that for an hour and a half. So I didn't really want to do that. I think UCLA made a massive mistake hiring Deshaun Foster instead of hiring Brennan Marion. And what he's about to cook up at UNLV with Sluka Doncic all season long and Ricky White and DeJesus, etc. That was a massive mistake. I'm very annoyed at the absolute ineptitude of this 2-minute timeout, the 2-minute warning. Awful. That's a 5-minute commercial break every single game of every single half. Gross. Terrible. Get rid of that garbage.
All right. Very good. So we'll be back. We'll have to talk about when we're going to be back.
Yeah, I'm about to say, don't do it live because you know how it goes. But it is Labor Day weekend. Also, the fact that, by the way, I mean, I understand, like, every Saturday we've got a phenomenal football game tomorrow night. Like USC, LSU. I know we already gave our predictions, but has anybody's opinion changed before tomorrow?
No, I think it goes over. I think nobody can stop anybody. I think USC beats LSU tomorrow night.
Yeah, I still feel the same. I think it's going to be a track meet, and I'm excited for that standalone game. But it's like awesome. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to wake up sad, and then I at least get more football to watch tomorrow.
All right. That's a stopping point right there. We're right at
by the way, boys, Brandon knows we always do a photo at the end.
Yeah.
So everybody pose.
All right, everybody smile.
Okay.
All right. That's unnecessary roughness. We'll be back next week.